Phoenix of the team.
With Jake and myself. Go over market outlook, member ideas, some social media questions, our best trades and worst trades of the week, and as well as some of the books we're reading. Shake, you want to get started with the market outlook?
Yes, sir. Let's jump in. So today, we were expecting a little bounce by the market, but man, did we get a full-fledged short squeeze today. I mean, the last hour of the market, the SPY went from 300 to 308, just absolute squeezing action. I think we'll probably see a lot of resistance in this 315, 320 area. But I mean, you can tell you get so much information. Everyone's going nuts right now about the media and this coronavirus, and trying to sell their long-term accounts and all this. I'm hearing stories everywhere I go from not only you, all my friends who are advisors too. It's just like people are going nuts. They're like sending emails. The funniest thing was subject line was market timing, and he sent them this when SPY was at 288. He's like, I think this is the time to get out of the market, and he just fucking marked the bottom. You're just seeing so much stuff like that. And I'm getting the question a lot of like, how do you know what to do in these times, and how do you react? And it really just comes down to, this is not the first time we've seen this type of thing. We get one of these moves pretty much annually in the SPY. The first time I ever saw it, 7-8 years ago, I was like, oh God, the market's going to zero, all this stuff. And then you start to see the same patterns over and over again. And that's what we got today, and that's why we were so ready to buy this market today. But what do you got? I'm sure you have more details.
Yeah, I have a few, like your buddies. I have a couple funny stories too, and I'm not going to go into a lot of them, but all of it relates to people who, on the run up, they're waiting for this correction. They cannot wait to get in, and then once they're given that opportunity for it, they want to do the complete opposite.
Right.
I had a guy the other day who wanted to cash out his 401k and buy stocks that sold helium because there was going to be a balloon short. It's like the level of just insanity and just stupidity that is out there is it's insane. But just one thing on this virus, and Shaky, if you could pull up that image on the epidemics, going back to the 80s. Over the last 12 major epidemics that have gone on that has scared the market, the last 11 of them that have occurred, 6 months later the market was higher. 12 months later the market was higher. In all of these instances, the average return 6 months from now is about 8%, and a year from now it's about 14%. So when everyone's trying to sell at 284 or 288, like marking that low, you were selling at the absolute worst time humanly possible, than to wait to get back in later when you're only going to be buying back at higher prices. So for the guy with the 401k or the IRA, you really shouldn't be doing much, especially if you don't know what you're doing. If you're trading, there's going to be opportunities. There's, my 2 main ideas for this week ripped today, so it's like you can't really. There's like if you weren't already in, there's not much you can do, other than just kind of wait for things to calm down. And there's one other chart that is also pretty helpful. It's the reasons to sell image. Again, very major, other than, epidemics, just, the market crash, the flash crash, gold, all these other major headline, driven events that had occurred in the last decade. If you look at the chart, if you forgot about all of them, you crushed it. You couldn't have done better. So people try reasoning it out of the market, and when they want to find those reasons, they'll use the exact reason to do the exact opposite and get in and buy more. So again, hopefully, once you start educating yourself, you won't get as nervous. Again, for me or Shake, we've been doing this for quite a while. It does, I could absolutely care less about this kind of stuff, because in 3 or 6 months, it's going to be the next thing, where all last year was rate cuts and the trade war. Now it's this flu, and then in 6 months, it'll be the next thing. So just try not to do irrational things when everyone else wants to do the same thing.
I got a funny text.
Sell.
I got a funny text about 2 minutes ago. They said, and it's one of the people who fucking got out of so much stock, and he said, I swear to God, if we V-bottom and we're at highs next week, I'm never putting on CNBC again in my fucking life. But that's everyone is so reactive to news, and the news is so good at fear mongering because that's what sells. Like, I bet CNBC ratings are fucking flying this week because of coronavirus. It's like, you just take the big picture approach and
even with
go on.
And even if we look at last year, like we talk about how these charts repeat themselves. They show up very often. They come up again and again and again. And last year, we were going into 2018 was this same exact market. We were running up into all new time highs for the all 2017, new highs, new highs, new highs, and then going into the end of the year, we had this crazy, kind of parabolic run, and then we had that first correction, and we dropped, 12%. And really, it was the same month, like within days. And again, same thing. We had this crazy grind up all year into the end of the year. The last 2 weeks, so we kind of had that parabolic run that we saw a little bit more like the Nasdaq sector. And then this correction comes. Again, no one saw this coming. We weren't calling for a correction. No one else was. It's here now, and now we're pretty much past it. We pretty much negated half the move. If you just forgot about the market for a week, you wouldn't really even know what's going on. Most of the stocks have kind of reset themselves.
I don't think we're out of the woods yet by any means, though. I think we could have another update tomorrow and then just run right into that previous support area, which is now might act as resistance on the way up. So I don't think we're out of the woods yet. I just think there's just massive overreaction to this news, as I'm sure you do.
Yeah. No, of course. Like there's without a doubt, we can see us roll back over to those. The one good opportunity though is when we get these sharp bounces off these lows. Is if say you were trapped in something that you did not want to be in, and you wait for that bounce, like we're getting these last 2 days and maybe into tomorrow. Say you were trapped in a stock at say 100 and it drops down to 90. And it rips back up to say 95 or even 98. These are those chances where if you had made a mistake, you're kind of given a chance to get out of that mistake for a much, less consequential loss than it would have been 2 days ago, panning into lows. So this is sometimes a time where you can kind of clean up things that you weren't in love with. Where if we do roll back over, then you're in cash and you don't care.
And for me, I mean, I got the opportunity to buy some Amazon. I missed this entire Amazon run. Now I can limp in when it falls, 15% in like 2 days and has these crazy numbers. In a year now, I'm sitting on some good Amazon stock. I'm pretty pumped about. I was able to get in on this dip. And now I'm sure there are so many other sides of the coin that are like, oh, panicking out of stock. When, if you have that, year outlook as the chart shows, the epidemic chart we're looking at, just like how overblown this shit gets and how much fear mongering we see. It's wild.
Yeah. Even that Amazon, literally, when we talk about stops, low Amazon was, what is that?
1811.
Okay, so my stop was 1799.99. So we're talking about this thing pulled back, 400 points. This pulled back, and our stop that we've set since December hasn't changed. We're still in this. Again, we had a huge pullback percentage wise, but again, we're still in this when Average Joe was posting it in the chart today. One of his buddies who's an advisor put a 3305 sell stop in AT&T.
Oh my God.
And then literally marked the exact. When we talk about having those stops pull the figures, are so key. So a ton of lessons, and even for me, I've seen a lot of those the hero traders a month ago who oh my God, I'm gonna do this I'm quitting my job, this and that, and I'm getting a lot of those texts where, can you run my money now? And it's like, you had your fun, and now this is when the professionals get to.
So funny, yeah. I know. Me and Heaven were actually having this conversation on the side, like last week or whatever. We were before the top, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago. Before the top was in, it's like we were like, this top has to be coming soon, just because of the amount of rookie guys I see talking shit. Like that is the number one indicator for me that the market's got to reset soon. When it's just like guys I know that have tiny accounts and aren't making much and are still in the learning phase. There's nothing wrong with that, but those aren't the guys I want to see cocky in the market. And those are the guys like, oh, that's a shit setup. Like I would never take that. And it's like, oh, we're getting close. We're getting close. Yeah, and then we got it.
Yeah, a lot of those. I mean, there's a lot going on for the next hour. But again, I think we'll jump into some of the member ideas and some of the hilarious questions.
Let's go.
So we got Tom Ansnell looking at net.
Oh shit! This looks amazing.
Highs.
Fuck yeah. Oh, I missed this one on the research this week. This one looks incredible. Shouts out to T Fresh because he really nailed this move the way you're supposed to. After earnings, we were looking for it to make that explosive move on earnings. Just kind of mosey down into support here, and then he bought this February 18, 19 candle against these lows, and then caught this move from on a nice swing trading basis where he didn't need to work that second. So that was a really good trade. But through these highs, it does look good. The only problem is that the price action is so wide. it had every day its price range is 10%. So you got to understand that type of name is very volatile. It does look good. Looks like it's moving higher, but high of 22, low of 20 today. It's a 10% range. So you got to know the name a bit. So I just say it's volatile, and you kind of have to have a good entry. I don't want to give this name 10% because I'm not going to make 50%.
Yeah. The one good thing with these recent IPOs is they're not as tied to the overall market.
They're not in the
So
S&P
it's like,
500. They're not in the NASDAQ. So, right, they'll shake off the news a lot more quickly.
but you also got that 10% range. So it's
You're also going to have a 10% range. So,
so you got to pick which foot you want to drink. Next, we got Anna. She's looking at this QRVO through 104.
Yeah, I like this. This 90. So, all right, let me get this up here. This 90 area, this QRVO is trying to break this 90 area for like months and weeks. And remember we were looking at this level, this like 88 level. So it finally breaks down earnings, gaps and goes, and now comes down in the sell-off Friday. It gives everyone an opportunity to finally buy this 90 for the first time in months. I think this is a really healthy chart, the way it turned that area into new support when it was resistance forever. So that's really healthy. It's just, we've had such a dramatic move in the indices the last 2 days. I can't tell her to buy 100 with a stop at 90 and try to sell it at 150. Yeah. So think, when ranges get much more wide like this, it's not as it's very difficult to be a technician in these environments just because the things are so stretched. So I think the stock goes higher. I think the chart looks good, but how it does it, I don't have much input on that. Like I'm not trying to buy. Above today's high at 102, the stop at 90. But if it provides an entry setup, I could play off of, that'd be a different story. But, things change as the environment changes. I like the stock, though.
Yeah. One more is this BA. But again, a little bit of a red flag where he said he's looking at BA for a long time. That's the first.
That's number one red flag.
A few words out of the idea. That's just a red flag for me. But he's looking at BA. I think up through 300.
Yeah, I mean, this is more of your kind of setup here. I don't want much to do with this BA. If it's really a long term, then it might be good. But this I could see this name going out of play for a little bit. It's just been so weak. Just kind of created a top here. This base breaking down isn't very good for the stock long term. So, very tough to find any good news on this company. But again, one of the biggest companies in the U.S. It had its troubles or whatever, and it's probably fine in a year or two. So if he has that outlook, then yeah, it's a different story. But when people say that a long-term outlook, they rarely do. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's the same thing. It's like anytime someone brings it up, usually my first question is, "What's the longest you've held a profitable stock for?" And usually that answer is nowhere near a year. And usually the year, it's like in their head, where if they hold it for a year, it's going to magically be that much better. So again, just focus on the setup again. BA is the leader in the space. They pretty much have a monopoly. But if you, and again, I was talking to, I don't want to mention his name, but he wanted to buy Microsoft. This was, again, 2 weeks ago. And I believe it was Apple.
Oh, long-term hold at 185?
For a 30-year hold at 185.
A 30-year hold at highs.
So I had to hit him back up recently. And I'm like, look, if you you want to put 10,000 each in. Like, if you put 10,000 in both these names, you're down 30 points in Microsoft, and you're down 80 points, 20, 40, 60, about 80 points in Apple. Are you going to be pumped being immediately down that much in both these names and want to hold it for the next 30 years? Probably not. So let's just cut out this dumb shit. And if you're in the name and you're up 30, 40, 50 points in 6 months, then yeah, you're going to probably be able to hold it for a year. But buying it day one and expecting holding it for a year, I don't know about you, but I've never put on a position and said, I'm holding this thing for a year because it's going to be the best thing that's ever happened. It's usually the stock shows that, and then from there you kind of adjust the game plan, accordingly.
Right.
So I think next up we got Nicholas is looking at work through this 28 level.
Ooh.
Another recent IPO.
So all right, nice little flag, and it did something pretty important. It broke out of this base, and now it's trying to get that secondary flag higher. I like this. I like how so it broke out of the base definitively on high volume, broke that 24 area, and now it's trying to give you that secondary flag. I don't know if the flag's there yet, but these names, once they break out of the base, they tend to continue to break out of the base and move higher. So I do like this name going forward. Just not sure if the flag's ready yet, but definitely like it.
Okay. Next, we got Golomi Netflix through 390.
Oh, this Netflix is so tricky. Everyone's asking me about this Netflix. I'm not sure. And I don't know how the fuck this is a coronavirus play. This is like, yo, the world is going crazy if Netflix is a coronavirus play. But I see the level at 380. You're right? It's like, oh, my God. I see the level at 380, and it's doing a decent flag in front of it. The only problem for me is that this thing uptrended so hard from 260 to 380. There's not much sideways action in it. It's just been in an uptrend. So it could move higher through this base area, through this resistance area, but it's not at the top of my list because I didn't catch any of this move from 260 to 380, 390, whatever that is. So I feel like, it's a tough buy for me up here through this resistance level after it gave kind of not the easier move, but it already had that run where now it's like, I don't know. I like the level and I see it and it could work out, but I'm not taking this trade personally.
Yeah, no, I agree with it because even as nice as level looks, it's like your next level is 420. So it's like, again, for Golem or anyone, it's like if you miss the 130-point run, and then again, this looks great, but it's like the next level is going to be 420. So it's, you got to risk 30 points here to get that retest 30 points. It's, it's like 1-to-1. Sometimes you got to just wait for the, those better setups. And lastly, we got Ricardo. We're going to DVA through this 84, more of a macro level. If we zoom out, we can see it going back to like 2015.
84 DVA. Wow, exploded the last 2 days. It's just, this is like most charts right now where it's like, if you weren't a buyer into the weakness, it's tough to buy on the third day up for me. Nice level. I don't know. Maybe a longer term chart trade. I guess you got to give that one to 75. That one's just okay to me. I don't love it. I see the level. How about you? What are you thinking?
No, it's the same thing. Even scanning pretty much any stock today, if anything's setting up and hasn't gone, that's first off a huge red flag. Where, and if the stock's bullish engulfing, basically day 2, and you want to get into a day 3, it's like you're just asking for pain. So really, it seems like for this week going forward, it's really just trying to, if you got good stuff from earlier this morning or yesterday, you got great stock, and it's just you got to either really give it the real out, which is 2 days prior low, or just give it to your cost, because if these stocks do start to roll back down to whatever your cost is, it's more likely to head much lower. That seems like the overall theme just with anything. If you didn't buy anything today, you're pretty much flat-footed. And this, again, goes back to how difficult it is to try to time the market or catch these lows, because you miss an hour or two and you're flat-footed. And for most people, you got jobs, you got things to do. You're not really sitting in front of a screen for a week to catch that exact low, which I don't know about you.
And it's not fucking. It is not easy to put that risk on. It was still even difficult putting risk on today. So
Fully agree. So again, that was some of the member ideas. We got a couple social media questions. So this first one's definitely going to be more towards you. This is from Tom Kenny. And the example is SQ. So he goes, he got into it for the opening range breakout on earnings. He bought some, he sold some at his strength, and the stock is pulling back, but did not pull back enough to stop him out. And his main question is, does he add back some stock down here, or does he kind of just sit with what he has?
I'm always in the camp of sitting with what you have, but the only way he would add. So wait, so earnings were Friday, and he bought the opening range breakout.
Mm-hmm.
So the day that the range is 76 to 84, that's when he bought.
Yeah.
So if he's in front of a computer and he's actively watching, let's say it breaks today's low and is coming down to the 76, 77, 78 area, and you see a huge reversal intraday on a 15-minute chart on expanding volume. The volume's increasing as that bar is closing. That's the only way I'm saying to add. If you see the intraday price action along with the daily levels. So if it comes down and defends that 76 area and rips back up, then you can add some back against that level. But don't just arbitrarily do it on the way down. You have to see that reversal. That's the only way to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm definitely with you on that one. Next question, I think I'll take this one. Guy asked, he goes, should I cash out my 401k and move into a money market?
Yes! Yes, you should.
Okay, so I have two simple questions. Would be, one, are you retiring tomorrow? Unless you're 65 years old, that answer is going to be no. And then, are you retiring in less than 10 years? So again, if you're 55 and under, the answer is going to be no. The reason for that, if you look at any rolling 10-year period, the market is higher in any 10-year period. I don't care if you start the Great Depression or before that, after that, any rolling 10-year period, the market is higher. So if you're retiring in more than 10 years and you think you're going to sell at the low of this year and then magically get back in at some other arbitrary point, you're just going to be lagging the market. You're going to underperform, causing more stress, than needed. 401ks, these longer-term accounts, you're automatically dollar cost averaging. So if the market drops 16% in a week and you're getting your contributions most likely going in yesterday, you pretty much marked the bottom just without even you doing anything, just because you're getting paid on the 1st and 15th or the 15th and 30th. So you just dollar cost average at the best time humanly possible relative to this year. So for the guys with 401ks, especially if you don't know what you're doing, those are accounts. You just leave them, pick the proper funds. If you want us to look at them, we help people with their 401ks all day long. Super easy. It takes us 2 minutes to do. So leave your 401k. Do not mess with it. Next few, this is another funny one. Daniel _Daniel LUYYB. He has how to spot bottoms.
Can he tell me?
Yeah.
Fuck. I mean, well, what do you want to? I mean, well, we can look at the intraday chart, and it's buying when into that extreme fear. We got the Friday gap down that was just way too overblown. The toughest one to buy, the first initial move off the open was further down, and then the buyers came in and ripped it at the end of the day. It's not easy to catch, and I don't know. I don't have a good answer for this other than you have to see it. You have to see stocks moving en masse to the upside, but it's very difficult to catch. I thought we were going to have a bottom the Thursday. I thought we were going to bounce when we retested that 300. I was looking at a prior resistance level. It took us 4 months to break out of that level. So I was thinking on the 5th day we should see that reversal, but and things can get stretched much more than you'd ever anticipate in these times when the panic is on. So I tried a reversal against this 300 area, and it went another $15 lower. So it's very difficult to spot bottoms. And even so this bottom, I'm not calling this a bottom. I'm not saying this is a bottom. On average, these lows get tested in 4 to 6 days. I think the stat is. I'm not expecting us to even have lows in. I think we could retest this 290, 288 area. Everything is hindsight with bottoms and things like that. I don't think they're easy to spot, and I don't think there's any foolproof way to do it because this isn't a bottom yet, and it looks like a bottom, but we could be right back at these lows in 2 days. So,
yeah, and even if you look back, I did a pretty extensive, one of our most extensive big pictures in the last year this weekend, given that everyone was generally freaking out the most, and even for members, even for non-members. I'm like, well, give me your email and I'll send it out to you just so you can look at the charts, look at what last year happened, what happened. And even last year, we had a bounce. We had that what we thought was a V bottom. We took 8 months to get back to new highs, which we did, but we still retested those lows and got very close there more than one time. So, just like he wants to spot bottoms, when everyone wants to sell or when you want to get out of the market and run to, baseball cards, that's probably the bottom. But again, or helium, the guy wants
helium indicator.
Even if you get the bottom, the hardest part with actually getting the bottom is that you now have the best price in the world. You're immediately profitable from the second you've been in the position. And all you're going to want to do is you're going to want to sell it. You're going to want to find a reason to sell it. I would bet any amount of money that if anyone actually bought SPY 286, I would bet any amount of money there's zero chance that in 8 months they're going to be selling at 340. They're going to be selling it the same day. They're going to be selling it today at 304, thinking they're geniuses. And they're going to completely forget about it, that they had the best buy that they ever had. And that was one of the lessons I learned myself last year, where I pretty much bought a lot of my bigger picture positions at the beginning of the year, which was near the low, and I sold 3 months into that bounce, and I gave away a ton of really good positions. And that was one of my big lessons from last year, where for this year going forward, I'm going to try to take those mistakes and improve on them. But trying to chase a bottom is a fool's errand, which I believe Jake's can agree with.
Yep.
Next up, we got Kamensky Ross, E-Rich's little brother. He's looking at LK.
Oh, yeah. LK was trade of the week this week. I love this LK. I think everything about the company is going well. I think, honestly, this whole China, the coronavirus thing, I think it's a complete buying opportunity. And you can tell in the price action because this is a Chinese-based coffee company. Do you think people in China are out and about in the streets right now if the virus is so bad? But the stock's not dropping. That's so much information there. Stock's just consolidating. So I think once it gets through this 40, 75 area, put a nice high today. 40.75, 41. I think this thing explodes back to highs. I mean, their growth is insane off the charts. And again, I don't expect to hear about this coronavirus 1 year from now. So I think this LK is a screaming buy through this 41 area. Screaming.
All right.
Screaming.
All right, so I think we wrapped it up. I think we can get into good trade, bad trade.
There's two things to do in this environment, and since I'm lucky enough to have two accounts, I can, one, expand my time frame in my long-term account, and then I could shrink my time frame in my short-term account. So like I was saying, I bought Amazon Thursday and Friday, just dollar costed average into it. I don't have a stop on that because I actually have a 20-year time horizon on that. And then today I traded this team, and I'll show you how I did it. So this team is, when we get in these times of uncertainty, charts largely go out the window. I'm not as focused on getting the best price, buying through this perfect resistance area. I want to be near the strongest stocks and trading those names. So this team, we can see all last week, this thing was just fighting to stay alive. Someone kept buying this thing, while the broad market, we can see, was a fucking disaster. So what I want to see is I want to watch how the market opens, and if I see some buying off the open, like we saw the SPY today come in and flush. Oh, come on. All right, that's not going to give me that. We saw the SPY pretty much go sideways off the open, and then it finally started moving higher throughout the day. And then when we had that turn is when I went for that team buy. Now, this isn't something I'm never going to take when we have a trending market, because I'm not trading off levels. I'm trading off an intraday low. I'm just going towards a strong name. So I bought this 144, 144 quarter, just against lows, 142 half, I believe it was. So I kicked some 148, 147. I'm getting those like 2-to-1 kicks off. And then I gave the rest of my stock like some room to breathe if it wanted to go. Didn't really do anything. And then I just get out of that at the end of the day. I don't really want to be holding things overnight in my active account right now, because these gaps are just, we're going to continue to see these crazy gaps. So, I'm shrinking my time frame in my active account, expanding my time frame in the long-term account, and I think that's a good way to stay safe. Again, these times when you're an active trader, for me, there are a lot of times, a lot of guys will talk about who are like the tough guy traders who are like, oh, I love volatility. Cool. That's cool. I'm glad you love volatility. I love killing it when it's really fucking easy. That's what the last 4 months were. Swing trading environment. Yeah. You just buy a breakout. You set your stop at lows, and you just ride that out until it turns, and you take some profit on the way up. Things like that. This chop shit is very difficult. There is a lot of opportunity, so I'm still going to be trading while I'm in front of my computer, but I'm shrinking my size down and shrinking my time frame down, and that's really the best way I handle these personally. What do you got for me?
For me, again, during these times, again, we're not really looking to worry about these corrections because, again, I saw these headlines like the worst week since 2008. And if you flip that in reverse and you think about that, in the last 10 years is the worst week. So we've had 500 other weeks that have been that much better than this last week. So it's like if you can focus on the bigger picture, it's much easier. But for me, when these times do get a little bit rocky, the large cap, the Dow 30, those tend to be the safest places to be because they're the biggest companies. They're not going to get as banged up.
Right.
So a lot of the trades this week, I'll run through a couple. We got Travelers. I bought up through 123. Again, we're never trying to catch the bottom. I'm trying to buy on the way up after it comes in. So, Travelers sold off, 20, 30 points in a couple of days. And I want to just buy above the prior day's high. And that's what it did today. And now it's up, a couple bucks from the entry. Merck was another one. Merck sold off from 92 at highs down to 74. Had a doji at lows, which was on Friday, and today kind of.
We got that follow through.
Yeah, we got the follow through again. Same thing. Bought above the high day. Bought above 78, which is the prior day's high day, and now it's up a couple bucks. It's up like 6% today. Probably 10% since Friday. Again, we're going to go into what's the other one? Dow. Another one. Dow kind of got spun off, so their chart's a little funky because they're not really newish IPO. They just changed tickers like a dozen times. This one they took out at the 2-week lows. Again, typically not a sign when we want to get into a stock against the Dow 30. And same story. Took out lows on the way up, bought up through 40. So it's very similar repetitive theme where I'm not trying to catch any bottoms. I'm just buying on the way up. Again, bad trade was probably this Amazon. Still in it, didn't do anything but just giving back those 400 points. Definitely not the funnest thing in the world. Still in, same stop. Now for me, I definitely cannot sell if it gets back to 2150 this next time because that's usually when it's probably going to head higher. So for me, that was just kind of sitting. Really for bad trades, I really didn't do much other than these buy stuff that triggered. Maybe for this IDXX, I got in a little bit too early. So I bought up, I think it was on Thursday through 264. And again, it was 2 days too early. But again, I added yesterday through that 250. So I'm kind of bringing that average cost down. And then if it wants to go through 290 months down the road, I'll have, kind of really good stock. So that's what I got for this.
I think I'm just going to run through a quick important lesson. So times like this, so when we're in like the trending environment, I'm going to go balls to walls with research. I'm going to search through every name I can, try to find the perfect bull flag. But in times like this, I'm just gravitating towards the best in breed. The reason I went to team, I was thinking software name, not as susceptible to anything China related. They don't have much business over there. But the ones that bounced back the hardest were this Microsoft, were this Apple, were this Amazon. All these names that have been the strongest name leading the market higher, those are the best in breed. Those are the ones you want to see bounce back first. So in times like this, it's like if you're going to trade, gravitate towards the best stocks, the Shopifys of the world that didn't really let you in, but now they're letting you in because the market just dropped 15% in a week or so. So for me, it's like these times it's not the research isn't the most important thing like it is in the trending environment. For me, it's focusing on the best in breed and getting those names to when they bounce back with the market. So I just think that's a quick important lesson.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree.
And you see it, like look at Apple today. Nuts the past 2 days. 256 to 302. That's nice.
Yeah.
Lucky. Shut it down, Lucky.
He's going nuts back there. Okay, so wrapping up, we got the last thing. We got top idea of the week.
So I like this Etsy a lot, ETSY. So they had earnings last Thursday, and this is one of those names that's not going to care about the market. This one was like our favorite name all the way up in 2019, and then they just kind of consolidated and fell off the map when they missed an earnings. Now it's trying to take out that same $60 level. Big down earnings, 2 inside days, now giving us a sick opportunity through 60. I like that one a lot. And another one, Alpha Chat's all over this D-Dog right now, just kind of consolidating, turning this previous high area into a new resistance. So if this can push up through 46 area, I think this one's good. And then lastly, I like this MDB, another software name. It had this resistance area, 140. Now we can see the stock doesn't really want to break down. It's still within its macro pattern, and we see it kind of pushing up off this new support level. So I think that one goes higher as well. What about you? And right now it's tough because we just had 2 monstrous days in the SPY. Like I'm not salivating to buy anything tomorrow after the 2 huge green days up. I think you have to buy into that weakness, take advantage of it a little bit. But I will buy that Etsy if it triggers. Yeah,
I completely agree. I think if you're going into tomorrow looking to buy, you're just like people that were trying to sell on Friday were way too late. If you're coming in to buy it tomorrow, again, definitely way too late. My 2 main ideas for the week was this American Express up through 112 burst that low. If we zoom out, you can see it's kind of a macro area that's been resistance and now maybe becoming support. So again, I got into that versus the low, and then Mitch, the Match.com.
Yeah, I love this stock.
Yeah, on Tinder. $90 stock, a month ago. Now it's 66. So same story. You zoom out, you can see 60 was resistance prior. Now it's becoming support. People are going to still use Tinder regardless of what's going on in the market. So it seemed like a really easy buy. I bought up today through 66. Versus that low of 60. This is a name where that third time's a charm is still 92 down the road. So it's not like I'm even looking to sell 90. This is trying to get a position where I can hold it through that move through 92. Similar to that Amazon through 2050, where these are buys where it's trying to be in for the much bigger macro pattern. I don't care if it takes a year or 6 months, 3 months, whatever. I'm just looking at the chart and trying to get in at a pretty good deal. So those are the 2 main ones. Again, they both triggered today. So everyone who got it in the Alpha Chat, we're in those. But if you didn't buy anything today or yesterday, you're kind of flat-footed.
I like that match a lot. I wish I bought that today. This is a company with sick. Their growth is still really impressive. So it's like a nice growth stock. The sales numbers are still there and stuff, and it's like every single person I talk to who's like meeting new people, it's either Match or Bumble or Tinder or whatever the fuck it is.
There's something I think it's 6 million people pay for Tinder Plus. I think Tinder Plus like $8, $10, whatever it is. But it's just like a strong subscription business that is not going anywhere anytime soon, and this just seems like
we're seeing such a paradigm shift with how people meet each other now. You never see people meet anymore, not online, like very rarely.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think this one's a good one. I like that one. I wish I scooped that with you, but I didn't.
Yeah, there'll be another buy.
Another buy? All right, cool. Let me know. Let me know.
All right, well, I think with that we can jump into book of the week.
All right, cool. Let's jump right in. All right, Bennett, book of the week. What do you got for me?
I finally have something good.
All right.
Hollywood Godfather.
Okay.
The Gianni Russo story. Franklin recommended this book in the Alpha Chat. Read this book in like one day. You can't put it down. This guy lived like the craziest life. Started selling pens in the city as a 14-year-old kid after having polio. Worked his way up through the mob. He actually was one of the guys who delivered the message to one of the Chicago bosses, pretty much telling that like the assassination is on. At the time, he didn't know what he was delivering. He just said it's on, and Lee Harvey
JFK?
Oswald, yeah, he pumps into Lee Harvey Oswald and doesn't realize it until later down the road when he gets shot, and he kind of puts together what was going on.
Uh-huh.
Stuff with him and Marilyn Monroe, like just this guy lived the craziest life. I feel like they should make this book a movie because this like shits on the action in my opinion. Like it's the stuff this guy did is pretty wild.
Nice.
So it's a really good book. One other thing he also runs into, he had this like crazy club in Vegas, and he ends up killing one of Escobar's like capos, not knowing it was Escobar's guy.
Uh-huh.
Kills him in his club, and he has this like crazy house in Vegas, all the security, and they break into his house and they leave this like crazy covered like blood covered sign in his house, pretty much saying like they're gonna come kill him and his family. So he flies down to Colombia to like meet Escobar himself, and they like beat the shit out of him. They do all this crazy shit to him, and they're about to kill him. And then Escobar realizes he was in The Godfather. This guy plays in the movie in The Godfather.
Oh.
And that was one of Escobar's favorite movies of all time.
Oh my god.
So he has him like play act some of the scenes with Escobar as him being like the Godfather in the movie, and just like crazy stuff that like you wouldn't think is real. But
Did you ever see the movie Tropic Thunder?
Yeah.
You know when he's got to do Simple Jack in front of the. That's what I'm picturing.
That's basically that, but just they were about to kill him 5 minutes prior, and now he's about to live. So it's like
a little more dangerous, I guess.
Yeah, crazy book. But again, the main thing of this guy, like just entrepreneur to the grave, always doing something different. Went from selling pens to being Curry in the mob to owning clubs and restaurants to casinos. Like he's always constantly doing like the next thing. He's never getting kind of stuck in a rut. So pretty good from an entrepreneurial standpoint, but also a very interesting read just to hear some of the stuff he did. Awesome book.
All right.
What about you?
So I literally just got this one in the mail, so I don't have a lot of details on the book, but someone recommended it to me, and they were like, you have to read this so badly. It's called Bad Blood, Secrets and Lies in the Silicon Valley Startup. It's the story about Elizabeth Holmes and Theranos, the greatest scammer of our time.
Yeah.
And they just said it reads like a thriller. It's this great book, and it goes into the details of how she did everything. So I'm really, really excited to read this one. I heard it was like amazing.
Yeah.
Bad Blood.
I read that one.
Oh, you did?
That one last year. Yeah. I'll give you one little funny.
Oh, so you can talk about it.
Where she goes to meet with one of the CEOs. I can't think of the guy, but anyways, guy's worth $10 billion. He's got one security guard.
Okay.
Regular guy. She is becoming a billionaire at this point. She comes to this guy's house with a security detail of 12 security guys protecting her, and the guy's like, "What's up? Like, why do you got 3 cars? Like, why do you got 12 security guards? Like, you're a CEO of a biotech. Like, no one's like gunning.
No one's coming for you like that.
No one, So when they move to one of their new, even Facebook, they revamping like their main office space. So they moved to this like $100 million office, and she wanted industrial glass, like 3-inch thick glass that would stop a missile. And the board is like, who is gonna shoot out your window with the bazooka? Like in Palo Alto, like who is doing that? Like this is just insane stuff. But she had a crazy ego. Really good book. But she is like the salesman of the decade in a bag.
Well, you say salesman, I say scammer, but I guess however you want to look at it.
Tomato, tomato.
Yeah.
Both books, very good. So hopefully you read it and pick up some other funny facts out of that book.
Yeah. All right. Wrap this thing up.
We're done. Until next week, guys. Good luck. Happy trading.